Hola, welcome to La Casa de Reference Biblioteca. Remember to check out our existing mouth splooshes and Denver Were None covering part 1 and 2. Don't Get Stockholm the Details part 3. In Palermo My Hands covering part 4. Hoo hoo hoo. Oti, spicy, muy caliente. We are, as we like to say, officially, unofficially, the Money Heist podcast. I'm very excited. Let's get straight into it, my love. Hola, friends and lovers. Welcome back to the For Your Reference podcast. You got your host, Katie.
And Oti.
Allude authorities, slip through the crowd and meet me on the dance floor with reggaeton-loving Messiah. Edge closer to climax with us this week with Money Heist, La Casa de Papel, Part 5, Volume 1 this motherfucking week. Woo-hoo-hoo. And this wasn't necessarily on our schedule because the 2 volumes of Part 5 are going to be released within this year. But, you know, as they say in Spanish, spoilers, otherwise known as splooshes. Don't ask me where I get my Spanish lessons, friends and lovers. And I guess in saying that, spoiler, there's obviously a lot that has happened in the series so far. And there's definitely a lot, pleasingly, that has happened in volume 1 of part 5. And we're definitely going to get into the nasty nature and lovely tidbits in regards to this show. So we have quite a lot of films and TV shows, and you should definitely not spoil and sploosh yourself if you haven't watched Money Heist. But if you've listened to our podcast, I don't really know what else you need, really. I don't know what more convincing you need. But let's quickly just go over how we felt because, you know, our most recent covering of part 5, we kind of, I wouldn't say we fell out of love, but we definitely felt a sort of lackluster in regards to where the show was going. We were worried that, you know, any sort of tension that was being built was going to be decimated for the reason of just continuing the series. And then part 5 was announced as the final sort of offering in regards to this series. So I think it kind of, at least for me, brought a little bit of hope that, you know, that there was going to be no bars hold. Text them, hold them. Go and listen to our Christmas 2020 special if you want to hear more references about that. But just generally, how did you feel coming off the kind of lackluster feeling we had for part 4? And how did you feel generally about part 5 for volume 1?
I'm with you. I think I was rejuvenated knowing that this is going to be the final season.
Yeah.
Nothing more. And I was ready for it.
Yeah.
Not that in any sort of shape, way or form that Money Heist was bad or anything like that. I just wanted to remember it on a high because many a times we've watched shows that we love go down the spiral where they extend it to season 2 long, and it just goes downhill. And I didn't want that for Money Heist, and I'm glad that it's all coming to a close. This season brought up so many feelings, and I think one of the best things they've ever done with the character who just came full circle. And wow.
Well, let me pull the subtitle glasses up on both of our genitals. If you're nasty. We watched Money Heist, La Casa de Papel before it even got picked up by Netflix, and I'm going to continue to sustain that. It's also the first non-English speaking that we've covered on our podcast, and it's also the 7th of all the episodes that we've covered. It was the 7th that we've ever released on this podcast. So this show really means a lot to us. But what I do appreciate about the both of us, even though I am a bit more trimagasi about it, that is another Spanish, the platform El Hoyo reference. But I like that we both don't hold on and love a show so much that we'll enjoy it even though it's not worth being enjoyed. And we kind of hold it to account as well. Because part 4, they were still in the mint and they didn't get out. So it kind of felt like it was there to be there. And I think that's one of the best things I love, even more than film, which I've talked a lot. I think I'm more of a TV gal than a film gal, is having a show that we've loved for years. And for the most part of those years being super solid in its quality, is actually knowing that the season, like the show, is going to end, because that's when we're going to get some real emotion and it's not just, stretching out barely a storyline for one whole season. And that's absolutely what I loved about part 5. I guess I wasn't expecting to feel so much, because this show has kind of become a lot more than a TV show in our household. Okay, what were the most shocking parts of Volume 1 for you? I think essentially my 60-minute soundbite. I'm trying to allude to the fact that what I love about Alex Pena is there's not a lot of deaths that we have, like generally in regards to like the main character ensemble cast. There's not a lot of deaths, but when they do choose the character that's going to die, there's a lot of fucking emotion that is injected into it.
There is.
Like we pour a sip on the concrete for Moscow, for Oslo. I was worried about Helsinki for a second, but I think we're okay about Helsinki. I don't think we fully recovered from Nairobi either. And I don't think I would have recovered from Berlin, but he keeps showing up anyway, so I'm most welcome in any regard.
Yeah, we're definitely not missing Berlin too much. He's always there, which is good. He's a solid character.
Well, let's go straight into it, because I would say a lot of, at least the first initial murmurings in all of the offerings we have discussing La Casa de Papel is Tokyo. And man, this is full character development on me, because exactly what you were saying, I wasn't expecting to be given any sort of information to contextualize Tokyo as a character. I think if eventually we were to go back and rewatch the series, I would still get frustrated with the selfish, understandable now, but the selfish decisions that she made throughout the series. But man, oh man, oh man, the waterworks were on. Don't collect 200 and don't pass go.
So true. I think when we first got introduced to Tokyo, we understood, or at least from a surface level, who she was.
Yeah.
And all the decisions she made. She was never our favorite character, at least not mine. And you could tell that she was important. She was important to the professor's plan. She was important to the group. She was seen as a leader.
I thought she was just important because she was hot.
There was that aspect, but I wanted to believe there was so much more.
Yeah.
And what part 5 did is sort of peel down that veneer. And we got to look at behind the scenes of who Tokyo is, her as a character, her intrinsic worth to the plan, and all the decisions that she made up until now all made perfect sense.
And I think I wrote her off too soon, because, with a lot of our episodes, we talk about not understanding characters and what their motivations were. But I was just like, Tokyo just wants to fuck shit up and see the world burn. So like for me, even though it wasn't clear why she did things and why she moved and navigated the world in a particular way, she just came off as a very destructive person. And I was like, fine. You're a terrible garbage person, and fine. But I like that I was challenged by that. I wasn't expecting to be challenged by that. And, I think it got up to episode 2 where we're like, oh shit, who's going to die? Who's going to die? And then I kind of liked how no one really died, but I was always on edge. That was the problem, right? If we talk about, wholly resonating emotional shows, Money Heist is definitely on top of it. But I never in a million years, maybe Arturo would have been on the same level of resonance like with Tokyo. Like I never saw it coming that I might have cared about her. And something that's very interesting, I don't think it adds to a lot, but just for those dedicated fans that have been watching it, or you've recently binged it all, or you've been keeping up with it over the years, is her opening narration where she's laying in her underwear and she's writhing about the truest love that she's had and she'll never have again, We all assumed it was about Rio.
Rio, yeah.
Which never made sense given given Rio being Rio. But it made so much sense. And, you know, even when she was on an island with Rio, we were like, what the fuck more do you want? You got out of it. You got the money. You're living with apparently the love of your life, Rio. Why aren't you happy? And the moments that we had, obviously we're coming to the end because we're talking about Tokyo, is it kind of unfurled itself and it offered itself. And I didn't know I could feel so strongly about someone as flippant as Tokyo, but she had a very sweet sort of sentiment that, you know, this man, our sense 8, our Renee of it all, you know, she talks about how Renee was her truest love, but you can live many lives. Fucking hell, man. Blew me away. That is such a poignant statement because just because you have more than one true love doesn't make the intensity of that current or past love any less. I never knew because, you know, even if we go back to our first episode covering part 1, part 2, which was just season 1 at the time, you know, I read the lyrics of Bella Ciao, you know, and how deep and how meaningful it was. And we're getting the same level of depth. We're getting the same level of self-reflection and analysis in a modern take directly throughout the show. And I love that it came from a character like Tokyo because far be it from me to not expect any sort of depth to her, which I think was wrong. I think it's just because I feel like hot people are enough. So the fact that they offer more than one layer, it's like...
How dare they?
Yeah. Give the 6 and 5s the chance of the world. But I really loved how beautifully it was laid out. How did you feel in regards to the betrayal of it? Because I think once we got to like maybe the end of episode 3 and even like halfway through episode 5, we kind of knew it was going to be Tokyo, right? Because there were too many flashbacks. There were flashback scenes throughout all of the 5 episodes, but then it kind of just focused on Tokyo, yeah?
Yeah.
And it's one of those funny things where at some point I clocked that we were going to see Tokyo die, but I still felt very emotional and I still felt a lot.
I really wanted to believe that it wasn't going to happen. I was like, surely...
This isn't Game of Thrones. They do kill characters.
I was like, surely there's going to be a twist. It can't be Tokyo.
Yeah.
Not because I loved Tokyo in the first place. It was just more...
She's a staple.
Yeah.
She's the hot.
She's fucking Tokyo, you know? When you think of Money Heist, she's one of the first characters that you spill out.
Yeah.
And it was weird because at the back of my mind, I was like, yeah, it makes sense. Although you're saying it made sense that she was eventually going to die, but I still couldn't believe that they're going to pull it off or they're going to do it in a way that would make us care or even shed a tear. Yeah. I really thought that Nairobi was my highest level of emotions when it comes to character deaths in this.
Non-biased.
Of course. and in that last scene, you know what? You know what the real writing challenge is? Turning Tariq likable. And they did that fucking thing with Tokyo. They transcended her. Not that she was hateable or anything, but making us resonate and care for her so much. Yeah. It's like with Power. We hated Tariq for 5 fucking seasons. And he got his own show. And we're like, we were trepidatious of watching it.
Yeah.
And I just felt that with Tokyo, I would never get a feeling of, oh, she'll die, but it's all right, you know? She was never my favorite, but wow.
Yeah, that's exactly it. They kind of become placeholders. Like once you learn about a character, you don't need to update, you know, your wiki knowledge about them. Like Tokyo is Tokyo. She's a bit selfish. Sometimes her self-destructive behavior can help the team, but in a lot of ways, it's really just because she wants to do it, right? But you're 100% right. When we were watching Part 5, Volume 1, you were saying that Tokyo was never scared of pulling the trigger. And I think that was the most dangerous and also most valuable asset to have on the team. Like, I think if she died, cool, but she would still get the job done. Like, I don't think it bothered her whether she made it through a situation or not. So she was ready to go that extra step that no one else in the team would, because they had lives that they wanted to cling on to. Monica, I don't know why, for example. But I guess Stockholm makes sense because she was Stockholm to Arturo.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrible. But going back to Tokyo, how did you feel with the contrast of them portraying? Actually, they gave us Hansel and Gretel breadcrumbs in regards to Nairobi's death with that dream sort of sequence and her wearing that beautiful red dress, right? But we just thought that was some sort of flashback, but it was kind of like an epilogue to her sort of life. So that was very like artsy. It was very creative. It was very beautiful. It was woven into the story. The way that they portrayed Tokyo's death was very illuminating as well, but it was very different.
It was. And I think Nairobi's death was more shock because we never saw it coming.
Yeah.
It was bang, there it is. And then the season was over.
Yeah.
You know, it was like left in limbo.
Yeah.
With Tokyo, they laid it out. They planned it out and they explained to us how everything she's done up until this point made sense.
Yeah.
Who she was and how she carried herself. And I think at the end of it, when I look back at Tokyo, and I think once we start rewatching this, which I'm sure we will someday, we'll be bought in from the get-go with our character. Because now we would have uncovered everything that she, you know, whatever we think that her decision is so primitive or without thought, we'll understand better because we know better.
But I'm still allowed to get frustrated with her because I feel like I will. Like, even though I know the path that she's come from, I think she still will be very frustrating and very selfish. It's just her selfishness becomes beneficial sometimes. There's like a little baby overlap in regards to that. But I was really worried, and we'll talk about Helsinki, but I thought Helsinki was going to die. And I kind of took it, from like the pairs in the way we're introduced to people. So because Moscow died, I was hoping surely you're not going to kill Denver, right? Like, and Denver was one of the ones where I'm like, they're going to fucking kill him eventually. And I don't want it to happen right now. Cause I was worried in part 4 he would die. And then I was like, okay, he might die in part 5, volume 1. That's going to hurt. That's going to hurt when Denver dies. That's really going to hurt. And then with Helsinki, I was like, they killed Oslo. So surely they're not going to kill Helsinki. So I was trying to insulate myself in the comfort that they weren't going to kill pairs off, if that makes sense. But yeah, yeah, hats off. And I think it's also like, I'm also going to pat myself on the back for being open to the fact that my perception about Tokyo could be changed.
Yeah.
Don't expect any more growth from me for the rest, not even for the rest of the year, for the next couple of years. Just let me be a trashy person for the rest of my life. Beautiful segue, perfect segue. Let's move on to another trashy person, El Profesor.
Trashy, wow.
Who leaves his fucking fingerprints on a cop car.
He's the genius, darling.
Who hides in the middle of a farm. And you know what? I guess that's the ultimate test because I am not a fan of El Profesor. He is worse in regards to hinging a whole show on his intelligence than Michael Scofield in Prison Break. Like, if we were to make a list of stories that hinged on how smart the protagonist had to be, El Profesor is on top of the list. You also have Michael Scofield. Dexter would be in there too, where it's like you can't progress the story unless they forget or they're dumb for a second because they're supposed to be so smart and account for everything.
But other people are smart too. It's not you're not smart in a vacuum.
But he's supposed to be the Goku of the La Casa de Papel world. No one is supposed to be smarter than him.
In this world, other people are allowed to be smart. To Schofield, you had Mahone, you know. To the professor, you have Alicia, who's also smart as, you know. She can pull a string out of any sweater to unravel it all.
Yeah.
So his smartness is not in a vacuum so that, I'll do this and no one else would ever bother thinking about it. No, man. And would you want a Money Heist world where the professor is smart in a vacuum? He's pretty much the Goku of this and no one comes close? Nah.
Excuse me, did you get a different subtitle package? Because he said multiple times, even succinctly within part 5, volume 1, he was like, I've accounted for every circumstance, Fengu. And it's like, no, you didn't. Like, there was so much. Can I just say, he was out of action for so long. Raquel was at the helm for a lot of it. And it wasn't even because there was a moment that he didn't account for that Raquel had to tactically, and I would say maybe in some cases strategically, had to perform.
Because he had already laid out this foundation for it.
No,
he
because...
had laid out the foundation.
How dare you? How dare you take my foundation against me? Egregious, sir. Insubordinate and trollish. Go and listen to our Key and Peele episode, friends and lovers. I don't care for El Profesor. But what I will say, you do talk about worthy sort of adversaries, and Alithia is definitely one of them. And we talked about her, I think in part 4, maybe in part 3, about her being like an anime character. She's like her with her like sweets and lollipops, torturing, doing sadistic shit to people, gathering intel. It was like channeling Attack on Titan for a little bit where she was torturing. But she didn't stop at one fingernail.
Nah.
But I love the contrast between Alithia and El Profesor because she was saying all of the shit that I wanted to say. It was very fulfilling to me and to all of the people that aren't hypnotized by El Profesor's like his what do you call it? His smug farts, his George Clooney smug farts, South Park reference. That was fulfilling for all of the people that don't see El Profesor as a reggaeton loving messiah.
Wow. I don't understand this, hey. He's allowed to be flawed as well. He tried to account for almost everything. He can't account for 100% because things go out of plan quite quickly.
No, but he
his strength is in how he improvises.
Countless times he keeps talking about how he plans for every variable. That's the difference between El Profesor and Berlin. Right? Because El Profesor, he's so diligent. He's so meticulous. So he'll plan everything. But the moment the meticulous plan that he tried to account for everything, but apparently maybe everything doesn't mean the same thing to him in Spanish, it falls apart and he crumbles and he's not useful to anyone. Berlin doesn't really look at anything. He doesn't account for anything, but he's flexible and he's agile and he's able to work within any sort of frame you give him. And I see you opening your mouth, and unless you're going down my Pembele Pussy Valley, I don't need that right now, sir. No, but that's exactly it. That's the difference and the dynamic that you have between El Profesor and Berlin. El Profesor offers nothing in this show.
He's pretty much the father figure of this group.
Yeah, they kept calling him daddy, and I'm like, you wish.
He is daddy.
Yeah, like the real traditional dad that fucks you up.
Oh, wow.
Not the sexy daddy that helps you, OT.
He was out of action for pretty much most of this.
Exactly.
No, for this part.
Ugh.
But do you think the mark of a good leader is picking people who you know can handle the pressure when you're not available to dole out the plan?
If your daddy left you at home too much, just say so, bruv. Stop projecting on our podcast, mate.
Because it's not like he didn't have any leaders. Tokyo was there who knew part of the plan.
Why do you need more than one leader if you're the leader, mate?
Raquel was there. Palermo was there. He had enforcers. He had people who could look after shit. Let's
go to a foundational qualm that I have with El Profesor, and we kind of touched on it near the end of the part 4 episode that we recorded, was he's never been in the trenches. That's why I give my hats off to Raquel. Raquel and Monica, I will never really name them their city names because I don't know. Maybe there's
yeah.
Like there's the wankery sort of gatekeeping that I have where I'm like, you didn't really earn it, and it's also like I love. Maybe I'll love Liam McIntyre, and it's not his fault, but I will never love him to the level that I would and have loved Andy Whitfield. Spartacus, rest in love and peace and power. Go and check out our Spartacus episode. But there's the OGs, and I'll always have respect for the OGs in the ensemble of this show, and I guess that's why I never really will give them city names. So even though I don't call her Lisbon, I do respect Raquel because at the end of part 4 she infiltrated herself back into the crew, so she was in the trenches, she was going the hard yards, and Tokyo kind of grilled her, but she was kind of, well, first of all, who are you to test her? But anyway, but she came around because she saw that Raquel was down for it. There's one thing to have the most perfect plan, But if you're not willing to stand by your compadres while that shit is going down, good or bad, then you can't necessarily be part of all of the triumph.
So because he's removed from being physically in the bank, he's not a good leader?
Yeah.
No, he needs someone to control the shit outside from it all.
Say what you will about Palermo. I think we all kind of warm to Palermo now. But say what you will about Palermo, he has some very radical, or he used to, he's kind of softened now, but like he used to have very radical sort of decisions, but you can't really say anything unless you're in the trenches as well. So he did what needed to be done. And he will continue to do that. Raquel will even do that, not El Profesor.
I agree. I think this is one we've discussed this point. I think in all the Money Heist episodes we've done.
And you thought I wasn't going to bring it up, but I did.
To me, the professor is best served outside from the chaos, so that he can control and he can monitor everything.
It.
Not because he can't handle it, because he needs someone to pull the strings.
I'm sure even Xavier from X-Men joined them every now and then.
He did it from his room somewhere else.
No, he did. Don't come for my X-Men lore.
Oh, dear.
All right, let's talk about Raquel.
I never had a problem with her as much as you did.
Well, it's more that, like, she succumbed to the charms of El Profesor so quickly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, mineself. He can stay away from my Pembele Pussy Valley as well. He's not the El Profesor of my Pembele Pussy Valley. But maybe that gave El Profesor like, what do you call? Like a false sense of confidence, because he thought because Raquel was such a strong sort of opponent that he's got this in the bag, when not really. She was strong as a person, but she was weak because she fell in love. You know, El Profesor, if he could have, he probably would have fucked Alithia as well.
Wow.
He's like that guy in Line of Duty.
Steve.
I wasn't born yesterday in the lagging and the bobbin.
Yeah.
I apologize, Bretonian friends and lovers. I'm pretty sure I didn't get that right, and I'm almost certainly offended everyone. We'll stick to our Spanish series. I do wonder how Raquel's general life is, because her kid, well, I think her husband's kind of out of the picture now, but her kid and her mom, like, she probably had one of the more fleshed out sort of outside lives of the heists. So I do hope that her family's okay. I'm not sure if they're really going to address it. They don't necessarily have to address it, but she definitely is one of the people with the most to lose outside of like the people that she has to lose isn't just in the heist.
Her family is set, and she has nothing to worry about in that regard. I think, at least from this perspective, it's more her and the professor, you know, being in love and doing whatever it is that needs to be done. And then once they're out, because, you know, and even if they don't make it, at least they've lived.
I suppose. I think it was nice, and I'm pretty sure it was her idea to bug those handcuffs as well.
Yeah.
Innovation, sir. No, but she's great. She's great. I've grown to love her. I was just frustrated because she just fell for the whimsies of a man. And that was kind of her whole arc. But we're starting to build her out as a character, and I am most welcome.
Agreed.
Let's talk about Berlin, because we see the introduction of his son. Not surprising that a vivacious, charming man like Berlin has at least one kid out there. But how do you feel about that whole story arc that we're exploring? Let's talk a little bit about that, because they did focus on it in these 5 episodes.
I think he'll play a big part. Once the gang is either backed in a corner, he'll somehow pop out of nowhere to save the day.
Yep.
Hack someone because we already know he's a great engineer. So something is going to happen, I think, that will make him be part of the group. But it was interesting just seeing Berlin having a relationship with his son and not having any sort of pretense as in, oh, I'm sorry I missed your childhood. I wish I would have been a better father. No, it's mate. I'm mad at you for taking your mother away from me, for taking the attention and focus away from me.
Yeah, because I think that's the illusion, right? As soon as you spawn some offspring, you automatically become that sweater wearing, man noises, groaning on a couch sort of father, right? And that doesn't necessarily happen. And Berlin as a father is exactly how I imagined him to be as a father.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think it's very consistent. It's very congruent with who he is as a character. Raphael, I think it's a good thing that he wasn't raised by Berlin, because he would be
More fucked up.
he would be one fucked up motherfucker, literally as well, because Berlin was teasing him saying, "Would you fuck my wife?"
Oh, hey, Tatiana, mate.
Oh, really? Friends and lovers. OT brings references. They're many years old. I only allow him so much sunlight, but he does have references. Friends and lovers. But yeah, like seeing that sort of dynamic was very interesting. Something that I really liked were the earnest sort of teaching moments that Berlin had, because he also said it as well. I'm not that father that's going to teach you how to ride a bike. And even if I did that, that wouldn't add anything to you. What I'm teaching you right now is exactly what you need. Right. And I just loved it. And then they had their little mini heist together. I don't know about you. I didn't necessarily think it was too far off of a tangent to like distract us or frustrate us from the main sort of storyline. I like that because we're introduced to a new character. So I like that we got more time with Raphael, and I like seeing Berlin take Raphael under his wings as well. What was interesting was I was trying to figure out how this even slots into it. I was trying to figure out, was he one of like the techie people in the tent? Like, is he the spit bucket for Tamayo? Like, has he been there? Like, Astanansans? Like, has he been there? Like, has he been there all along? Like, I was trying to figure it out. And I think what we gather by the end of volume 1 is that this was more of a test for Raphael to whet his palate and, kind of shake off that, philosophical, ethical sort of coil, because it doesn't exist. Berlin drops a lot of wisdom in these episodes, and he says, if you want something in life, you need to steal it from the person that has it. And it's that sort of untested naivety that Raphael has, and he's like, you shouldn't steal, guy. Stealing is bad. But the face and the anger that he felt when Berlin dropped the suitcase into the river, it revealed the true nature of not just Raphael. I'm not criminalizing him, but I think a lot of us, like, if we could get away with it, we would. Mm-hmm. Maybe if our podcast stops mysteriously, we've won the lotto. Who knows? But I really enjoyed the tutelage and the time we got to spend with Berlin as well as Raphael. And we've said it in all of our La Casa de Papel podcast, but I think Berlin's the only character that I will accept dying and we constantly see him. Like, I think in any other case, it would get really frustrating, but I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Do we know what happens to Tatiana?
No, she went to the bathroom and she never came back, from my memory.
Do you think like ladies go to the powder room and then they disappear forever?
Yeah. I think this is where Berlin gave the best quote in the series. You want to say it?
This is Berlin to Raphael. I don't want you to die before you've lived.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. Don't go chasing waterfalls, OT.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. What a lovely sentiment. And, there was the back and forth that they had in the restaurant where Berlin was like, do you really want to work just 9 to 5 and your moments of freedom is 1 month a year? Like, I felt personally attacked, but also yes. Please sign me up for the next heist, Berlin. But that's exactly right. Like, I guess, we talk about suspending criminal sort of activity so we can enjoy a show. We've talked about that a lot. American Gangster, continuing my Denzel charms of it all. But it's true. Like, if you could get away with it, a lot of people would. A lot of people try and they get caught. Mm-hmm. But that is a very telling, and I think it resonates on all sort of levels. Like, there's no point in living if you haven't lived. So don't die until you've lived. whatever that means, whatever capacity. It might be full-blown Money Heist, or it might just be having an extra cupcake. Whatever works. Whatever works, friends and lovers.
Levels.
Well, if you leave a crumb, it counts as not eating the whole thing.
True.
But yes, Raphael, what do you think? What do you think about his sort of character? How do you think he's going to come into play? Because I would imagine him and Rio's skill set would be kind of similar, right? Or do you think they more complement than being similar?
More compliment. I think he's gonna make them disappear at the end of it without a trace.
Yeah, because there's the getting out.
Yup.
There's the getting. That's definitely right. There's the getting out of it that we need to get through as well. Okay, let's move on. We had some nice appearances from Nairobi. I told you, the moment they had the flashback where Tokyo found Nairobi and they were having a cute little giggle gaggle together, I told you Tokyo was the one that was going to die.
Not even talking about life and the meaning of life. Yeah, and I'm like,
right. But I think that's exactly it. Like, I don't care if something isn't a surprise to me. That's why I don't care about the whole protagonist tenet of it all. Like, I don't want to be sat there trying to figure out what's going on and then nothing happens and no one's splooshing and no one's climaxing, right? It doesn't bother me that I know where the story is going to go or it's pretty obvious what's going to happen. If the emotion is there, I'm absolutely there for it. And what's very cute in that scene, there was a callback reference to Aikido, which is a Japanese, I thought it was a military tactic of pushing and using the opponent's force against you. And they were shouting that as El Profesor and Raquel were fucking. Because I think Aikido is more of a fucking than a making love sort of thing, right? Mm-hmm. You're not getting the candles and Barry White out.
No.
Anything else to say about Nairobi?
No, it was good seeing her.
It took me a while to connect that we were actually watching her because I didn't think that they would bring her back in any instance. I don't know why. I was just like, I thought we had closed that chapter. So it was nice. It was like, I was recognizing her face and I'm like, oh my God, it's Nairobi. She's back.
Yeah. I think we've just not seen, we get to see Moscow as well. Like, a lot of the characters who've passed, we get to see them again.
I know, but
which is nice.
It's that sudden sort of death that you were talking about with Nairobi. Let's move on to Rio.
Oh wow, I felt sorry for him.
I was emotional for the things happening around him, but I don't think I care about him specifically any more than I did.
Neither am I. Like, I don't sit here thinking, oh man, Rio. You know, I felt sorry for him on the last scene, seeing Tokyo die. That was not great. Him struggling trying to get to Tokyo, drilling up a wall. He tried, man. He tried.
It was so beautifully done, though. And I think, a lot of us have or will or in the past have experienced that intense sort of love, like not knowing what's going to happen. Because I think even at that point, they accepted what happens will happen, que sera, sera. But it was such a sad moment because it was also saying, don't smile at me like that. He knew that Tokyo had accepted her fate and he wasn't ready to give up. And it was so much tension because you knew he wasn't going to be able to dig that hole in that time. And I'm like, stop hugging or like, stop touching each other's hands and keep drilling. You can do it. Like, is Rio going to be able to make it? Because she's obviously not jumping down that chute.
Yeah. I was thinking, man, if only they would have discovered there was a lazy Susan 5 minutes earlier.
Oh.
But everything was, it all came to that moment where Rio couldn't do anything. He felt helpless, and rightfully so, man. The love of his life is dead. What
does that leave? How does that leave Rio? Because even thinking back, he was fucking tortured in barely a locker by Alithia. Like, he was fucked up. Like, he was like the baby, fresh-faced, innocent sort of character that became devoid of all emotion, which Monica really loved soaking all of that up. And now the most intense, most fulfilling, most dynamic sort of love he's ever had has died for the benefit of the group, for the hope of them being able to escape. How does that leave Rio now?
I really have no idea how he handles this.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure he wants to recover from this.
He's going to go in, suppressing fire.
Yeah, he's just going to go there suppressing fire to everyone.
He's kind of the Cyril Figgis of this group, actually. He's kind of the Cyril Figgis. Let's move on to Denver. Denver. If anyone will survive out of the show, I hope it's him.
Yeah, he deserves it.
I hope it's him in Manila and no one else.
Him and Manila. Oh, man, I think having to see him struggle this much to be in a relationship with Monica where he feels constantly undervalued
Yeah.
over Arturo.
Yeah, over Arturo.
There has to be a bloody line somewhere, mate.
Yeah.
Monica continues to treat Denver as crap.
Well, to be fair, if the stars aligned, Monica would
There
still
would never be,
the mistress of Arturo.
Yeah, she would still be pawning over Arturo and wanting Arturo to leave his wife.
Man, love works in mysterious ways.
Yeah.
But I think the sad thing is, and we kind of uncover the layers with Denver here, is they're just incompatible. Sometimes, well, Monica is kind of a terrible person, and we'll talk to her when we get to her. But they're just incompatible because when we met Denver, he was so full of life. I don't think him and Tokyo ever would have worked though. But Manila, and we learn more about Denver and who he is as a person and what he wants to do, right? He was always just making sure Monica was okay, right? And I think a lot of that has to do with the guilt of him shooting her as well. I think he felt guilty about it. So I don't know how much of that translates into the love that he gave. And, Manila's like, oh, you wanted to own a nightclub. And he's like, oh, yeah, I danced with Monica. We danced. It's like, no, you danced. It was a very cute, lovely dance, but only you danced. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes people give so much of themselves to be with someone that they just choose to do that. But then you realize that you're not living the life that you want to live.
Yeah.
Like there was so much that he was interested in wanting to do. So many things that Manila knew that he wanted to do. So why accept less of a life? Going back to Berlin's quote, don't die until you've lived.
Exactly. I think a lot of what they showed us is the incompatibility between the two and what Denver was like and what he aspires to be.
Yeah.
We're talking like when Manila was saying, you wanted to do all these things if you had money. But mate, you had all the money in the world and you did none of it.
Yeah.
So what does that say about your relationship with this person who you can't even aspire to do the things that you've always dreamed of?
Yeah, exactly.
They all take a back seat to Monica and whatever she wants to do.
We'll talk about Monica because it comes to Arturo. But while we're still on Denver, yeah, I know. While we're still on Denver, let's talk about Manila and let's talk about them.
Did you see it?
That Manila loved Denver?
Yeah.
Yes.
Romantically?
Yes, absolutely.
I thought they were just buddies. You didn't see it either? No, I didn't. I did it until the very minute she said it. She was like, oh, I'm in love with Denver. I've been in love with you all this time.
No, you couldn't see it there. And it was very sad when Manila said she was so happy to see him. And then she saw Monica and his kid. And it just like, it broke her inside.
Yeah.
Right. And, they've known each other since they were kids. And Denver was so supportive during her transition. And he's always been there, always been ready to bat for her. And you can't force someone to love someone, but I do think if given the time and attention and the love that this relationship is needed, they can definitely skyrocket. We just need to get Monica out of the way.
Yep. Hopefully this also goes back to Monica and we'll get to her, so I'll just leave it for then. But I want Denver to be so much happier than he is. I want so much more for Denver because he deserves it.
Yeah.
He deserves it. And the minute when he was getting shot in the eye, I was like, oh no, don't kill this guy.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
One of the flashback scenes, Moscow and Denver, they have one of the best sort of scenes. I get all warm and fuzzy whenever they have scenes. And the moment when he wanted to talk to, when Moscow felt guilty and he wanted to talk to Benjamin about Manila joining the first initial heist, Denver was getting really exasperated and he's like, what, do you want to call him now? And he's like, what do you mean now? We have to walk 3 hours to go to the phone. I just love them too because he was such an OG traditional dad, and Denver was that brat, like that young brat that just, you know, he loves his father, but he'll do whatever the fuck he wants to do, and he'll talk back whenever he wants to. Like, I just loved, it was so nice. It was so nice seeing them back together again. But let's move on to less favorable waters. Let's talk about Monica and Arturo. We can confirm that Arturo is dead, right?
He's not dead. He's in critical condition, and that's all we're told.
Okay, but at least he's close to being dead.
He's in critical condition. That's as close as you can be, mate.
Oh, that's not dead enough. For a character like Arturo, that's not dead enough.
Arturo is like a bloody roach. He's not going anywhere.
And he really knows how to get under Denver's skin. Disgusting. Yeah. Disgusting. When he was trying to lure Denver out and he was like, you know, like pretty much everywhere they look around in the mint is where they fucked. Oh, I'm the best she ever had. She loved me. Did she ever say that to you? Oh, man. I was like, hold me back, bro. I'm going to Spain. But Arturo, I think they kind of made a mistake of making him the character you love to hate to full-blown sex pest. Like, it wasn't into question. He did terrible sexual things, you know, without consent to women. But in any case,
he turned weird pretty quickly.
Yeah. Right? But him as a character, like, there was nothing else to be done except for kill him. Like, every time, for no reason, he wanted to fuck shit up. Even when they were standing outside and he was talking.
Let's run.
Yeah, he's like, let's go. He's like, fuck everyone else. Let's go.
He just loves chaos. He wants to be the center of everything. And to me, the most stark thing about the relationship with Monica is that he could never do any wrong.
Can we admit that Monica still loves Arturo? Because
100%.
there's no reason.
There's no reason why you defend Arturo for every single thing, especially the things he's even done to you.
Even if he's the father of your child, I don't think that extends to the graces that she gave him.
Man. There's some things that Arturo does and you sit there and think, what the hell?
You don't even need to think about it. It's very clear.
He fucking tried to drug someone and here you are defending Arturo as if he's Jesus incarnate.
He tried to shoot. He rubbed his boners against, like, come on.
And I'm so glad Denver called her out on it.
Yes.
And I think that's the only reason she got upset and got in her head to try and shoot Arturo.
Like, let me be messy. Don't call me out.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to shoot you now to prove that I have no feelings for you.
And what was up with her trying to, like, comfort Rio? That was weird. She was so frustrating in part 4. And she's not proving to be any better in this.
No. She's definitely... She kept on. How many times did Denver tell her, stay back with your kid?
Yes.
Both of us don't need to be here for this.
She's like, you can't go. Okay, if you're going, I'm going. And it's like, fuck you, lady.
And then once you're there.
Yeah.
As a mother, the only thing I could think about is my child. This is the most fearful thing I've ever thought about. I am so anxious. Fuck off.
You chose to be there, fucking own it. If you didn't want to be there, don't fucking be there. You're ruining the show.
And then she's putting all that anger that she feels to Denver.
Yeah.
It's not fucking Denver's fault.
Process it yourself.
He told you, mate.
Yeah.
He told you. You have a small kid. What business do you have going there?
What? And she didn't add anything at all. She barely helped Helsinki. And wasn't Rio? Rio came in to get reinforcements and Helsinki, half dead on the table, was helping. Like, she was useless.
And the worst part is, she's fucking spiraling for shooting Arturo. Piss off.
Oh, but can I say, that's why I love Palermo so much. I love Palermo so much. He's the best example of hard decisions needing to be made and making them. Palermo is exactly that. And when Monica was spiraling, she kind of did a John Wick. She did 2 shots, but she didn't do it effectively. But she did 2 shots, right? Palermo's like, you shot him, he's dead, accept it. That's exactly it. There's nothing, you don't need to contort yourself anymore. Why are you recoiling? Why are you trying to save him? He's fucking dead.
He was, but you know.
Well, they revived him, but that's exactly the point. Like, you chose to come on this mission, accept it, right?
Yeah.
You
it's
chose
like
to kill him.
Dragged here You know, it's if it wasn't for you, just don't do it. And if you're there, you have no one else to blame but yourself.
Right?
And then for you to put everyone else in danger when they're trying to figure out how to escape, how to get to Tokyo.
Yeah.
An extra person would have been way helpful than her dragging herself out of the game.
Yeah.
That was selfish. And I think Denver should really call her out on that.
Yeah.
And even just fucking break up with her. That's fucking nonsense.
And what you said when we were watching it, Denver will never forgive this.
No. Where was she when she could have seen those fucking lazy Susan in that room? She was fucking dragged out on a couch.
Yeah.
She could have said that 5 minutes earlier.
Yeah.
Monica will be the fucking Jesus. I never thought I'd hate anyone in this show as much as I do Monica.
We've got some really solid women in this show. Tokyo, Nairobi, Alithia, even Raquel. But man, all of them put together, it doesn't make up for how fucking frustrating Monica is as a character. You know, she feels like a character where maybe they like the actor or maybe they like the character so much that they just keep them around, even though there's no reason. Because I don't know why you keep coming back, lady. Ugh, that's enough. That's enough of her. How do you feel about Helsinki? Do you think he's going to make it? Based on the way his leg was broken, even though they patched it up, it kind of needs to be amputated, right? I'm not a surgeon.
Yeah. I think that leg's gone.
Like, I'm not a surgeon, but I'm pretty sure you can't come back from that.
Yeah, we didn't get to see too much of him this episode, but I'm glad he's doing all right and he'll survive that.
Do you think him and Paloma will get together?
I hope
do you
so.
think it was just the heat of the moment? Paloma, I don't know about all of that apparently endearing fatty calling, but
no, I think they have feelings for each other. It's just it was too soon.
yeah.
And he was coming too strong in part 4. Mate.
I know, but Helsinki's so sweet and so lovely. I just hope Helsinki doesn't die because we lost Oslo, and that was very sad. Seeing Helsinki have to go through that. Seeing Helsinki have to go through Nairobi dying.
I suspect Palermo will die
Palermo!
to try and save Helsinki.
The money I take
some
you
reason.
over Palermo. You're welcome. I just like Helsinki. Bogota, him and his 7 kids. He needs to make it out.
He's a hothead, isn't he?
And a hot ass.
He couldn't let Gandia go, or just
Oh, well, it was kind of teased that Bogota and Nairobi were going to get together. So maybe that's
they got pretty close towards the end
yeah, some like periphery sort of feelings, that were never founded. I like Bogota. He's very solid. It was nice that he was in the flashback scenes with Berlin and Raphael as well with Mercedes. I like Bogota. I hope we get to see more of him, I guess, in the last 5 episodes that we'll get in regards to this. So how about Mercedes?
He seems solid as ever.
He really just gets it done.
Yeah.
He just gets the job done.
I think that's just him. Marseille gets the job done.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Roll credits. End of. I think Tamayo needs to take his high cholesterol medication because I don't understand how he's always yelling at every single moment.
He's not, and this is where, Alisa needed to be in that tent because he's not smart enough.
Yeah.
He's not smart enough. He gets taken to the cleaners all the time.
He's not smart enough, but he's conniving enough to be able to cover shit up.
He can throw his own grandmother under the bus.
How about, okay, so what I really enjoyed as like a storyline sort of plot point was when Tamayo very stupidly, very, very stupidly decided to make Alithia the scapegoat because the enemy of my enemy is
my friend.
So El Profesor and Alithia, even though she was very reluctant, we're going to see a very interesting last 5 episodes. They're definitely going to bring down the establishment together.
But do you think so? Because at the end of it, Alicia took or hid a scissors or some paraphernalia in a shot.
I think it's definitely going to take some time. What's frustrating with me about Alithia is she knows that she's never officially in broad daylight going to be acknowledged as a branch of the government. She's like the Gitmo, right? She does all the dodgy shit that they benefit from intel and all other sort of resources, but they're never fully going to acknowledge that they have affiliations with her.
And the fact that they've publicly just said that she's responsible for pretty much leaking everything to the professor, that's never going to be undone. Regardless of whether Tamayo gets proven innocent or guilty, doesn't work that way.
So I think she just needs to, and maybe it will be softened because she has a kid now, but she kind of needs to realize that she's not even going to have any sort of, well, first of all, normal life and any sort of residual sort of prestige or credentials. None of those are going to transfer.
But what does that say about that role, man? Any leader that comes in to negotiate with the professor ends up with this on his side.
Yeah, but I think it's more the allure.
Of the professor?
No, of the riches. Of the riches, my love. I almost
got you there to admit.
Try again, OT Aaron Snarky Sorkin. Anything else about Palermo?
No.
I love Palermo. I don't want Palermo to die. Is that okay?
That's okay.
But if I had to choose only one person not to die, I don't want Denver to die. I love Palermo. I love Palermo. I think in an ideal situation, they should be able to get out, without any sort of casualty, without any sort of collateral damage. However, that's not how it happens, even with apparently a perfectly executed plan from El Profesor. So Palermo is there as a tactical solution to make the hard decisions that El Profesor can't and or won't ever be able to execute. So there you go. I love Palermo. I want him to get all of the glory riding off into the sunset. Mm-hmm. Gandia.
I'm glad he died the way he did.
I'm worried if I say his name 2 more times, he's going to pop up in the middle of the night.
He probably will.
He's a vindictive motherfucker. But I think the presence of him on the screen was good because, it wasn't going to be like a Mortal Kombat tussle where no one wins. Like, if he's there, he's going to kill people. Like, he's going to hurt you. And from a story point of view, it's definitely going to move it along. Mm-hmm. Ooh, thank you, friends and lovers, for joining us on another installment of La Casa de Papel Money Heist, Part 5, unexpectedly to us, Volume 1. Mm-hmm. It isn't far, a couple of months away, but it still is a pretty long time for all of the feelings and the way that Volume 1 ended. Do you have any sort of final thoughts, final sort of wishes for Volume 2? This is literally going to be the end of a series we have loved for so long. So is there anything that you think's going to happen or you really hope's going to happen, even if you don't think it'll actually happen?
Give us a happy ending.
Because Money Heist?
Just let everyone escape with all their riches and live happily ever after. Far out, man. We've seen a lot of good characters die.
This isn't a major spoiler in regards to Vikings, but I kind of envision Raphael being that one kid of Ragnar that ran out into the battle and he died like straight away. So I don't know how far Raphael is going to get. I want Denver and Manila to get together because they genuinely love each other and I know they're going to have a very happy fictional life together. So I would like that to happen. Thank you, Alex Pena.
Yep, and Monica can get into the bin.
Oh, she doesn't need to go in the bin, but she needs to get out of the screen. And I don't want to see Arturo. Just mention him off screen.
Yeah. Man, enough of that guy. Jesus. He's lingered. Far out. It's like that extra who always shows up, just ends up on the screen, man.
Another Viking reference. Vikings is a perfect example of a TV show that we have loved for a very long time that ended in the most satisfying of ways. And I really hope that's what we're going to get into in regards to Money Heist as well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, friends and lovers. Thank you in Spanish and thank you in every other subtitled language. We're going to finish off in a segment we call For Your Reference. OT. You originally referenced Prison Break. Would you like to keep that or swap it out?
Oh, I would like to reference Alice in Borderland.
Woo! Look at us. All of our subtitles, OT.
Mm-hmm.
I've got 2 references.
Go for it.
Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
Again, make sure you check out the show and also our 2 episodes in regards to Vikings. And also Gamora.
Nice.
Yeah, that also has La Immortal. So we're definitely going to hear more about that as well. Thank you so much, friends and lovers, in a subtitled, non-subtitled capacity on Twitter and Instagram. We're at For Your FPod.
Write us an email at hello@fypodcast.com.
We're also on Messiah Reggaeton Dancing podcast if you like to leave a rating and review. And we'll see you guys next week.
Bomba clat!
Bella ciao!